Welcome to the Terraform Associate Practice Exam Podcast. I'm your David, and today we have Elisa, who will be tackling 10 questions designed to test foundational knowledge of Terraform. This is designed to simulate a real exam scenario, so let's jump right in. Question 1. You've just joined a new team that uses Terraform to manage its infrastructure. What is the very first command you should run after cloning the team's Terraform repository to your local machine? A. Terraform plan. B. Terraform apply. C. Terraform init. D. Terraform validate.
The answer is C. Terraform init. You need to initialize the working directory by downloading providers, modules, and configuring the backend.
Question 2. Your team is managing a large AWS environment. You need to create 5 identical S3 buckets with slightly different names. Which Terraform feature would you use to accomplish this efficiently without duplicating the resource block 5 times? A. For each meta-argument. B. Depends on meta-argument. C. Dynamic blocks. D. Output blocks.
For creating multiple identical resources with slight variations, the A for each meta-argument is the most efficient and preferred method.
Question 3. What is the primary purpose of the terraform.tf_state file? A. To store the execution plan for the next apply. B. To cache provider plugins for faster performance. C. To store a record of the resources Terraform manages. D. To define the variables for the configuration.
The primary purpose of the terraform.tf_state file is C, to store a record of the resources Terraform manages. It's essentially the mapping between your configuration and the real-world infrastructure.
Question 4. Which of the following is considered a best practice for managing the Terraform state file when working in a team? A. Commit the terraform.state file to your Git repository. B. Store the state file on a shared network drive. C. Use a remote backend with state locking. D. Email the state file to team members after each apply.
The best practice here is C, use a remote backend with state locking. This ensures shared access and prevents concurrent operations from corrupting the state.
Question 5. What does the Terraform validate command do? A. It checks the syntax of the Terraform code and communicates with provider APIs to verify resource arguments. B. It only checks the syntax of the Terraform code and does not make any API calls. C. It creates an execution plan and validates it against the current state. D. It rewrites the Terraform code in the canonical format and style.
The Terraform validate command, B, only checks the syntax of the Terraform code and does not make any API calls. It's a static check.
Question 6. You have a variable defined as type equals list of string. How would you access the second element in that list? A. var.mylist2. B. var.mylist.1. C. var.mylist_of1. D. var.mylist1.
Terraform uses zero-based indexing for lists, so to access the second element, you'd use D, var.mylist1.
Question 7. Which of the following are valid sources for a Terraform module? Choose 2. A. A local file path. B. A Docker image. C. The public Terraform registry. D. An Ansible Galaxy collection.
The valid sources for a Terraform module are A, a local file path, and C, the public Terraform registry.
Question 8. True or false? The apply command can be run without a preceding Terraform plan command.
This is A, true. If you run apply without a plan file, Terraform will generate a plan and then immediately ask for your approval.
Question 9. What is the purpose of the Terraform taint command? A. To permanently destroy a resource. B. To mark a resource for recreation on the next apply. C. To import an existing resource into the Terraform state. D. To fix errors in the state file.
The Terraform taint command is used B, to mark a resource for recreation on the next apply. It tells Terraform that the resource is degraded and needs to be rebuilt.
Question 10. You want to define a value that will be used in multiple places in your configuration to avoid repetition, but you don't want users to be able to override it. What should you use? A. A variable block with a default value. B. A hard-coded string. C. A locals block. D. An output block.
To define values used internally and not intended for user override, you should use C, a locals block.